Welcome, welcome. Thanks so much for joining us for the Corefact AI Assistant webinar, where we're going to talk about AI and a new tool we're super excited about that we think is going to benefit your business and really help revolutionize the way that you interact with prospects and help you generate leads and support your marketing efforts. So, good morning. I am Sierra. Here at Corefact, I am joined by our VP of Marketing. This is Chio Saley. Chio is
Good morning, everyone.
fresh off of another webinar that we just concluded about 10 minutes ago. So he's a trooper. I am going to share my screen, but while I get ready to share and dive into our presentation today, we'd love to know where you are joining us. I think Chio put that in the chat. We want to make sure, one, that our audio is working, so that helps us just know that you can hear us okay. And then also just kind of hear where you're coming from. And also let us know what AI tools you are using in your business or for personal. Let's talk about AI. I was at Inman a couple of weeks ago, and if you've been at a real estate conference or joined any of these webinars, I think you probably are seeing that it is a hot topic right now. Everybody's talking about how AI is going to revolutionize their business, how it's already in their business, and it's a shift. It's automating our daily tasks. It's changing how we work. I was just talking to one of Chio's team members, Nathan, who helps with a lot of our design work. He said he's using it for copywriting. I mean, just basic tasks that we used to spend a lot of time doing are becoming automated. What we're talking about today is not just automation, but creating real-time conversations and experiences that are authentic, that are unique. And they're not just pat answers. They're actually dialogues that are occurring. And imagine booking a showing or following up with prospects, all these tools and tasks that you used to do, but automated. So, what's the problem we're trying to help you with as a real estate professional? We know that we've got, I don't know, combined 1,000 years of real estate expertise. It feels like we've been doing this forever. Chio and I think, are probably 50 plus years of combined, actually, probably 60 plus years of combined experience. Gosh, we're old.
Long time. Yeah. Been
But
around, been around the block.
yeah, but we know that when you have a real estate business, you are doing so many jobs at one time. You are your own negotiator, you're your own legal counsel. That's just on the transaction side. You're your own marketer. You are promoting your own business, not only promoting your products, your listings, but also promoting your business as, a professional trying to make people aware of you. So you're promoting two different things. You are your own schedule, your own admin. You're your own, office manager with all of your bills. I mean, it just goes on and on. I could ramble for, you're probably doing 10 jobs actually, and there's not 10 of you. So how do we take some of the tasks that you're doing on repeat and automate them? So whether that's sending the same email to 10 different people or replying to calls that are, people just asking how many beds and baths on that property when you clearly have that on the MLS and you just have to reply to them anyway because you never know, it could be an opportunity. How do we help you with juggling all of those opportunities, but more importantly, the repeat tasks? So this is where the Corefact AI Assistant comes in, and this is a voice experience. It's an AI experience based on voice, smart conversations. We're going to actually get into a demo here in a minute to show you how it works. But before we get into the demo, think about when you think of Corefact. Hopefully, those of you joining us here today have some experience with Corefact or know about us. Maybe you've been a client or you've heard a presentation before. What we are known for is direct mail. And so the idea with this is an enhancement or a way to engage with your direct mail by adding a voice conversation to that direct mail piece that you're sending out. So again, if you know Corefact, you know we are the industry's leader for not only individual direct mails, but direct mail campaigns with our elite program. Imagine on our postcards instead of just a QR code that maybe goes to our home estimate, if you're familiar with that call to action, or if you're using our QR codes to send them to someone else, to another website that's trackable. That's great. I hope if you're sending out Corefact postcards, you're taking advantage of that lead tracking, lead generation opportunities. But when you send someone to a website or to the home evaluation page, you are seeing that they go there. And potentially, if they go to the home evaluation page and submit a question to you, you're going to get some response. You're not getting dialogue. You're not getting interaction. You're not gaining a real, live, authentic conversation. Imagine this. Somebody gets a postcard with, and look at this design for a minute. Look at this QR code. It even looks different. So on a traditional Corefact piece, you would have a QR code that looks like a QR code. It's black and white. It looks like you could scan it and maybe it would say, bananas 99 cents. It kind of looks like something you'd see at a store. This is a design element that says this is going to be a unique experience. So when somebody scans this card, already they know by looking at it and see the little AI in the middle there. This is specifically designed to capture their attention and alert them something different is going to occur. So imagine they scan this with their phone, and instead of just going to a page and seeing some information, they are able to engage with an AI assistant that asks them a question like, now look at this postcard. This is a listing promotion piece. This is 1173 Monte de Luz Way. And the card says, ask my AI any questions about this property. So they were to scan that card, and the greeting, when they scan the card, says, hi, I am the AI assistant for Jessica Sellers. What would you like to know about this property? And they can actually sit and think, well, I'd like to know, about the interior. I'd like to know about the exterior. I'd like to know about the location. I'd like to know about the HOA. They can ask anything they want, and you're not limited to what is printed on the postcard. They can engage and have a conversation about anything they want. So that's what we're talking about. And I showed you the QR code already. And this would be the little orb that they would see on their mobile device when they have that conversation. So this is the experience that we are working to create and share with you. So why voice? Why not chat? Well, we're so used to already engaging with voice. It's quicker, it's faster, it's more familiar. You can hear intonation. Have you ever had an experience where you were messaging somebody back and forth, and you thought they were mad at you, and you thought, let me just pick up the phone, and you pick it up and you have a conversation, and they think, no, that's not what I meant at all. But once you hear the tone, you realize, oh, okay, that was a misunderstanding. But you can get so much information from tone, that voice is really, really telling as compared to chat. And if you look at the big companies, Google, Amazon, and Apple, they already have developed this technology with their offerings, Gemini, Alexa, Siri. We're all familiar with these tools, and we talk to them. I think Siri was one of the first ones that I used forever ago. What is that, like 10, 15 years ago? It seems like a long time ago now. And I remember just playing with it and like asking it silly questions. And when it first came out, because we had the iPhone, we would play with it. And then Alexa now, I think we've started to use as a helpmate. With Siri, it was kind of fun, maybe dial this person, or, Siri couldn't really search a whole lot. But Alexa, I can't imagine baking in my kitchen or setting a timer or finding out the weather or anything without Alexa. She's part of what I do. I mean, I would have to stop what I'm doing and go set a timer if I was baking or wanted to look up the weather. All the little tasks that we now assign to these tools. They're just part of our daily routine. So the Corefact AI Assistant is potentially another one of those tools that you can incorporate into your daily routine. So we're going to jump over into the live demo. This is the Corefact website. So one thing that you'll notice that is new to your Corefact account is up here in the upper right. And this is that color scheme that kind of looks futuristic, very modern, that fading of purple to blue that we saw on that QR code. You can see it in the design elements here. So if we click on that, so over here on the left, We have our assistants, conversation history, profile manager, and learning center. So this is what I was just showing you are the videos that you can use to set up the assistant on your own if you like. Otherwise, we do have a team that can help you. Your profile manager, this is what's going to appear when someone scans the QR code. This is the profile information that will populate to the assistant. We'll look at that in a minute. And conversation history will show you after we do the demo. We'll go back into that. The assistant. Okay, so we have, in this case, 12 total assistants. Why would you have multiple assistants? And what is the concept of an assistant? I'm going to go into edit here and show you. So an assistant, imagine an assistant with a voice, a personality, a greeting, and a knowledge base. So you could, in theory, have multiple assistants that sound different and have different things that they're going to talk about. Every assistant is going to have, as Chia was mentioning when we were transitioning to the demo, every assistant is going to come with guardrails about FHA and don't talk about finance, different things, but they're not going to have a knowledge base until we give it to them. So you could have, the example that we were showing from a marketing perspective was a listing that we're talking about. And so in this case, we've got a sample address here, 1212 Mayfair Street. In this case, the assistant would sound a certain way, and we can do a sample audio
With
here.
determination, even the smallest seed can become the tallest tree.
But I could change it if I wanted to.
A voice model perfect for that genuine conversational sound. It was trained by two good friends just talking about life, unscripted and raw.
Okay, so you got a couple different voice options. The greeting, this is what it's going to interact with as a starting point. So when you scan it, this is going to be the first greeting message. And then the knowledge base that we are going to load that is either about that property or about you as a real estate agent or the market or whatever we are going to have it talk about. And that obviously would correspond to that first greeting message. So those could be different sets of information for each assistant. So imagine you would have a different assistant if you had different listings. So the first one might say, ask me about my listing at 123 Main Street, and you would have that information. The second one might say, ask me about my listing at 456 Second Street, and you would have that information. Or potentially you could have an assistant that talks about multiple listings. Ask me about any of my listings. Which one would you like to know about? And then you have a different assistant that maybe asks about sales activity in the neighborhood. What would you like to know about sales activity in the Meadows home development? And then it could answer those questions. So I would say your assistant should correspond to your marketing goal for that piece, right? So if you are sending something out and you're promoting a listing, then your assistant would act in correspondence to whatever that marketing piece is that you're setting out. Okay, let's look at the links and talk about this. So you're setting up your assistant, and again, you can set it up on your own, or we can help you with it. When everything is set, you've got the voice, you've got the greeting, you've got the name, you've got the knowledge base, everything's all ready to go. You will have access to as a paying member, you will have access to this QR code, that beautiful futuristic QR code, and a URL. With these, you can download this QR code and you can use it on any element that you want to print it on inside or outside of Corefact. So if you're ordering a Corefact marketing piece, a postcard, a brochure, a flyer, a business card, a sign, anything, you will be able to import this QR code and add it to your design. But if you wanted to download this QR code and print it on a park bench, you could put it wherever you want. And it is yours to use if you want to put it on a billboard, if you want to put it on a magazine, something that Corefact isn't producing, it's your QR code. You can use it wherever you want. And we encourage you to, because that's where you're going to get the most promotion and interaction. Same thing with this URL. So the URL could be used to either, maybe you want to do a different design QR code. We've had asked on other webinars, what if I wanted a QR code designed with my logo in the middle? Great. Use this URL to generate the QR code that matches your design. Or use this URL for a click-through experience versus a scan experience. The QR code is going to be scanned via mobile for the most part. The URL would be potentially clicked through from a digital experience like an email newsletter or a website or maybe social media, but this URL would take them to the exact same place as this QR code would, and then they could have the interaction that we're about to experience. Okay, you ready to see the preview? Let's go over to preview. So down here at the bottom, now imagine this was a scanned experience. Most of the people that interact with our AI assistant are going to be coming over from mobile. So that's why you have the big, thick bars on the side because it's optimized for mobile experience. So that's why the design is the way that it is. So down here at the bottom, this is all the information that was in your personal profile. So it's going to be branded to you. And then you do have the option to do a light or dark background, depending on what they prefer. All of this interaction that we're about to experience can be in script as well, if they'd rather read it. If they're audio impaired or if they're in a noisy location, they can view the interaction. So that's our little scripting up here. And we are going to agree as a user scanning this potential postcard or marketing piece that our voice will be recorded, stored, shared, and that we're okay with that. So I'm going to hit agree, and then we're going to hear the interaction.
Hi there. I'm Deborah with Jessica Sellers at Sellers Realty in Pleasanton. Would you like to hear about our new listing at 1212 Mayfair Street?
Hi, yes. How many beds and baths does it have?
The home at 1212 Mayfair Street features 4 bedrooms and 3 bathrooms. If you have any other questions or would like to schedule a viewing, feel free to ask.
What school district is it in?
The home is served by Fairlands Elementary, Thomas S. Hart Middle School, and Amador Valley High School. I recommend checking public resources for more information about the schools and their programs.
Perfect.
If you have any other...
Is there an
I'm-
HOA?
Yes, there is a homeowners association HOA for the property. The monthly fee is $225, which covers front yard maintenance, common area landscaping, and community upkeep. If you have more questions or need further details, just let me know.
I'm not really familiar with Jessica Sellers. Is she a good real estate agent? Can you tell me about her?
Jessica Sellers has over 12 years of experience serving Pleasanton and nearby communities, and her clients often refer friends and family to her. I can connect you with her for personalized assistance. Would you like me to arrange that?
Sure. Actually, let's set up. I think I would like to tour the house. Is that possible?
Absolutely. I can help arrange a tour of the home at 1212 Mayfair Street. Could you please provide your preferred date and time for the viewing, along with your contact information?
I love how excited you got when I said I wanted
Thank
to
you.
tour.
I'm here to help and excited to assist you in finding your perfect home. Just
Oh,
let me know your preferred date and time for the tour, and I'll take care of the rest.
okay. How about Saturday or Sunday, 1 o'clock on either
Great.
day?
Great. I can check availability for a tour at 1 p.m. on either Saturday or Sunday. Could you please provide your name and contact number so I can confirm the appointment?
Sure. My name's Chio Saley. What's your number, Chio?
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm gonna end the call there. So you kind of get the idea. She answers the question. She's very fluid. None of these are pat responses. We're loading a knowledge base, and then she is responding based on the knowledge base and the conversation. So it's very fluid. It feels very real. We're not trying to mask that this is AI. We're very upfront that this is AI. We're not trying to swindle anybody into thinking they're, talking to a real life person, but it still feels authentic and it feels real.
Yeah.
So, best part, this is my favorite part, is we just had this little conversation, right? Now, if we go back into our dashboard and we go into the conversation history and we look, today is February 18th, 11:22 Pacific time where we are. This is that conversation that we literally just had. It's here. So imagine you sent this card out, you get a text message because you've enabled text notifications from Corefact with this conversation summary. We're not going to put all of this into your text thread, but you'll be able to click through and you can look at how they spelled your name. Chio Saley.
A
That's pretty funny.
little bit off.
A little bit off, but that's okay. You can listen to it, right? So that's another reason that it's so important to hear the audio because you'll be able to, to listen to it and get the information as well. But here's the summary up here. I can read through this, but remember we were talking about tone. You can also play the audio and you can
Hi there.
hear.
I'm Deborah with Jessica
This
Sellers at
conversation
Sellers
again.
Realty in Pleasanton. Would you like to hear about our new listing at 1212 Mayfair Street?
Yes. How many beds and baths does it have? Okay, so I'm not gonna play the whole thing, but the beauty of this is you can hear their tone, and if they get excited about something, or if they have urgency, or something is a hot button for them, you're gonna hear that in the conversation. So this is such valuable information for you. We've already had users that are experiencing this, had people literally do what I just did. Yeah, I'd like to set an appointment. Yes, I'm interested in listing my home. And the agent is following up with them and closing those deals. So we're already seeing this make a difference for our users, and we've only had this available for not that long, actually. We've launched it pretty recently. So one thing I do want to point out while I'm here on this back end is with the assistants, and I showed you those QR codes. Let me go back into the links. So let's say you print something like this on a sign, right? And you have it talking about a listing like we just had. Now you sell the property. Yay. Uh-oh, you have a sign with a QR code that talks about a listing you don't have anymore. Did you just waste money on that sign? No, because all you need to do is go into the knowledge base and put in different property information. So you can always be updating the knowledge base, and your QR codes don't expire or become obsolete. You just can refresh them with new information. So let's say it's talking about you as a real estate agent and you got a new designation. Go in and update your knowledge base. And that way it will know that you now have an SRES designation, or, whatever your new designation is. So it can reflect that in the conversations. So I just wanted to point that out while we were here on the back end. I'm going to segue over into our presentation. Well, Chio, any questions? Actually, let me pause really quick before I go back in.
Yeah, there is a question about doing like a handoff between setting up multiple AI assistants where, let's say someone's, co-marketing with the mortgage person, and can you create two AI assistants where one AI assistant basically hands off maybe a question that's related to the mortgage side to another AI assistant. And so currently we don't have that. And what I suggested was that putting the same type of knowledge base into that same AI, and then maybe including some sort of rule that anytime when they're asking about the mortgage side, you would refer to the mortgage, specialists that you're partnering up with, right? So I think there's ways where you could really, change and kind of like, set like certain goals or do certain handoffs and things like that with the AI. Also, there's a question about can we download the audio? So yes, you can. It's there as well. You can download the transcript. You can download the audio as well. I believe it's a MP3 file that you could download. And generally, you guys, like a lot of these conversations that we see that are happening, you're probably going to look at about like a minute to like sometimes 3 to 4 minutes of a conversation. So keep that in mind.
Those are some good questions. Chio, I'm going to hand off the next part of the presentation to you to talk as our marketing overlord.
Overlord. All right. So you guys, hey, look, this is the problem, right? We always send out these postcards. We know that anytime when it's promoting a property, we know that you're actually buying into community as well. You're always trying to squeeze all that information into the space. How do we do it where, replace that information and then be able to switch it to a QR code, right? And just have more meaningful conversations downstream, right? The idea is that, if we can move them towards, instead of reading, I want to have a conversation about it, right? So that's the idea. I'm going to go to the next one here. A lot of you guys, I think, when you think about like setting up the AI assistant, I mean, really, it's really bringing that AI system to life, right? And putting it into all types of like different print applications. So this particular example, like what Sierra kind of demoed, was basically how to promote that listing with the AI, talk about that property in a really good light, talk about your services in a really good light as well. And you can also put on like a just sold postcard, open house, event driven stuff. So let's say now you're doing an open house and maybe it's more event driven. What I mean by that is, you might have, maybe, snacks and drinks, right? You might make it into, hey, join us for open house where, I had just someone across the street from me did an open house and they were giving away boba drinks, right? Whatever the case was. So it could promote that event as well as promote that as a listing. Could also do for like a just sold. I know a couple of you guys mentioned that, hey, can this be only used for listings? No, you can use this for pretty much anything, right? So if you're doing it for like a just sold, that AI should be really talking about like how effective your marketing plan was, right? If you sold a property, did it sell over asking price? Did it sell within, 30 days? Did you get multiple offers? Highlight the sale, really talk about how you did this amazing sale, right? Put it onto like a market update. I mean, this is the thing that I think a lot of times a lot of people talk about is when you read the stats, what does it all mean? Well, why not add the QR code on there and have a conversation about the market? What's trending? What's selling? And things like that. As a matter of fact, don't even show the stats sometimes, right? Just have a conversation. And if we drive that focal point, a lot of people are going to scan that QR code and have an interaction with it, right? So it
I've
makes
seen
market updates a lot more fun.
Yeah, I've seen a really popular card that Tom Ferry's promoting, and it says, "Have you heard about your neighbor?" And it's just a QR code, and the results that they're getting are pretty, phenomenal from what they're saying. But the concept is it creates intrigue, it creates interest, and then from there, like you were just saying, you're not stuck to the confines of a small postcard. You've gotten their attention, and you've captured the attention with, something like the stats are in. Well, what stats? What do I need to know? That's pretty compelling. Like, I want to know what the stats are. I'm going to scan that, and then they can ask whatever they want. And
Mhm.
they're not limited to just the information that fits in a little text box.
Right, right. And a lot of times too, you guys, when I noticed this, when people set up the AI agents, you know, people are going to ask homeowner questions. They're not going to ask what I call realtor questions, right? Every time I demo this with a lot of agents, the first thing they want to do is they ask like what I call agent questions. What's the average days on a market? Tell me about, it's like, man, people aren't asking those type of questions. So a lot of times we get into like, hey, we know our business really well. Here's the lingo we use, whatever the case is. I think people are just looking for just like normal questions and answers sometimes, right? They're just thinking about, hey, I'm thinking about selling. What do you think is a good time to sell? Little things like that, right? So sometimes don't be overwhelmed with like putting all this much data because in conversation, you're probably going to use probably less than 20% of what you upload there. Okay. So
And
just
that's
keep
and
that in
that's
mind.
what we talk about, in the beginning of the presentation when we talked about automating, because the questions that they're asking, they're the same questions. Like literally bed and bath. Like they all want to know that. Even though you put it on everything and it should be really obvious, that's going to be the first question that they all ask. And it's hilarious, but that's a repetitive question that you don't need to spend your valuable time answering over and over again. We can automate that for you.
Right, right. So yeah, there's I was thinking about downstream too. Like, we had one here for agents that put the QR code onto a property brochure. And every home has a story. When I ask my AI about that story, we have agents where like, let's say imagine you guys are doing an open house and you're tied up with a family, right? And two families come into the open house. You might say something like, hey, grab one of my brochures. I'm a little bit tied up right now, but if you have any questions, please ask my AI. Right. And so we've seen this on like the transcripts and things like that, where a family goes into the kitchen and they'll ask the AI, they'll say something like, hey, is this countertop, is this quartz or is this marble? Right. And they'll answer it for you. Right. They'll ask something like, hey, what's the square footage on this bedroom? And so it does all these things to educate when at the time when you're kind of tied up. So think of it as also your assistant, kind of like during an open house when it gets really busy. Right. So, um, and we could put all kinds of applications here. I mean, door hangers was boring before. I kind of always thought, and now you have some kind of like interaction with AI and it promotes things like your property, promotes your services. Business cards. This is such a interesting one because a lot of agents have some of the most amazing looking business cards. Only problem is sometimes anytime we're trying to think about just passing over contact information, I just want to find out who you are. How much experience do you have? Are you from this area? Little things like that. And why not? I don't need to call you. I could just ask the AI, right? So it's literally positioning you as the agent and giving more value to the people that you're trying to reach out to, right? So and then also just signage. A lot of times, like we know signs cost a lot of money. I mean, you have longevity with these signs. Now imagine like you put up this sign writer or this yard sign, and maybe there's a price improvement or a price change, right? Well, guess what? You don't have to order another, sign with a different QR code, whatever the case is. Just update the knowledge base, and there's so much more longevity with that sign. But now think about this: that home just sold, right? Now, what do you do with that sign? If that was a QR code, traditionally, you probably have to toss it and order another one. Well, think about this: move it to your next listing, put it up there, update your knowledge base, and it's ready to promote your next listing, right? So lots of longevity with comes to putting it onto like sign applications and things like that. So possibilities pretty much endless for some of this stuff too. And then also I think there's also I just want to say there's also digital business use cases. We see agents using the AI QR code on things like their email signature now. We're seeing them put it onto like their maybe their website where they're on the feature listings page. They might, instead of saying click here for more information about this listing, you click here and talk to AI about this listing, right? So a lot of other use cases outside of just print applications, but I think a lot of agents we see are doing more things that's more creative. If you're doing a marketing piece that maybe talks about 1031 exchange, right? I mean, why not use the AI to promote and educate more people about that? Like just the other day, I found out more information about 121 exchange, right? And so it's an educational process. And sometimes can't fit all that information on a postcard. Why not put it onto AI, have AI deliver that message, interact with it, answer the pain points, and then you seeing what type of engagement that looks like, right? So the possibilities are pretty much endless. I think there's a lot of creativity that with you guys that are currently using it today. So I'm really happy to see that. Yeah.
Yeah. So just a little bit of a recap here, and then we're going to jump into the pricing because you're probably just going, how much? How much is it? Tell me how much. So the idea with this, and this is something we haven't talked about yet, but obviously it's going to save you time and create efficiency, make your marketing more effective because not only are you going to see interaction, you're going to understand what the actual interaction is about. It's going to help you vet leads, people that are just curious about listings or the market from people who are ready to engage. It's going to help vet that process for you and actually capture those leads if they're ready to take the next step, convert that information into, those are ready to meet people. So really, it's going to be time saver for you. But what I want to talk about for a second is this is a benefit to your clients as well. So if you think about people reaching out to you for information or finding things online. Digital and online, the beauty of that is it's available 24/7. If you had a person who was an assistant, they likely would have hours that they worked. They would get vacation. They would get time off. They'd be sick. They're not always available. Whereas this assistant is available 24/7 to respond. And a lot of times people aren't necessarily ready to interact with a live conversation. We are seeing this, Chio and I are Gen X, but we're seeing this with younger generations in particular, with alphas and Gen Zs, that they don't want to interact with a human until they're ready and until they have to. That up until they're ready to commit and make a decision and move forward, they want to get their information from a bot or from an online agent, and they're actually more comfortable with having those interactions immediately when they want it at 3 a.m. when they are searching Zillow and they can't sleep and they just want the information now, but they don't want to talk to a person either because of a timing perspective or they're just not ready for that conversation. You're providing a service for what may end up being a potential client of yours by giving them the information they want in an expedient amount of time. And it didn't have to disrupt you either. You didn't have to wake up, leave your meeting, leave your spouse, leave your family. You didn't have to respond, and they still got the information in real time with a real live conversation. So we just see this being a benefit both to you and to your prospective clients as well. Gio, any comments, questions? I'm gonna
Yeah,
jump.
we have quite a bit of questions, so let's run through this real quick. Artie's asking, do you need an email address to send the AI ad? Along with if client says no to the welcome, what do you do?
If client says no to the welcome,
I
I'm
think
not
that's about the welcome message maybe at the beginning.
if
So yeah, so just to address that, I think Artie's asked basically asking about do we need an email address to send the AI stuff? Yeah, you're gonna need an email address to get all the responses and things like that. Not sure what you mean by send the AI ad.
account set
Yeah,
up, and your personal information would be in there for billing and tracking purposes. So when you have an AI assistant tool, and we'll get into pricing here in just a second, you would have a Corefact account, and that's how we would notify you that the interaction took place. By default, that information is going to go to your email address. You would need to opt in to get the text messages. So, yes, we would need an email account for you.
yeah. If the client says no to the welcome email, then yeah, the AI will probably just hang up, or just have a nice message and say, well, if there's anything else I can help you with, let me know. There's the we have objection handling on the system prompt to kind of handle that as well. So if it senses anything like uncertainty or things like that, then it'll change its tone of voice or change the conversation a little bit. Are there female and male assistant AI voices? We have 6 AI voices, 3 female and 3 male voices
I
in
apologize.
there.
I just picked two of the female to demo, but yeah, there are a couple male ones there as
Yeah.
well.
How long does it take to input all this data? And how much can AI download from a property tax record? So this is something that we tried out for a long time. We basically sometimes use, you can use any AI software like ChatGPT. I believe ChatGPT partners up with Zillow. So I tend to I don't pull from county records just because the data is not that rich. I've tried that multiple times, and the data is a lot more richer when you ask someone like a ChatGPT to basically pull it from Zillow. So you're going to notice that's going to pull everything from property description to property specs on there. And it's going to be a lot more different and a lot more better experience downstream during the conversation. So if you guys are pulling things like county records, it's probably not going to be as data rich. So we're always looking for like a better experience downstream on the conversation. So we want to make sure that we empower the AI with a good knowledge base there. Last but not least, what safeguards are in place to protect realtors from any errors or incorrect information your AI assistant might give?
You want me to answer that?
You want me, or I can answer that too. Sorry. So it's up to you.
So a couple of them. One, we have the default system prompt that we do put guardrails around. You don't talk about um, finance, don't talk about family, all the different FHA things, but things that we don't want it talking about. So we do have those guardrails in place. But then there's also a disclaimer, and I didn't read the entire thing, but when they agree to the conversation, the disclaimer, I believe it says something like, this is computer generated and the information is deemed reliable, but um,
Guaranteed.
not guaranteed, something like that. So there's a couple of different guardrails in there.
Yeah, we also have a legal counsel that went through pretty much all the legality stuff. So I think we're probably kind of clear on that. We also put in guardrails in there. So a lot of you guys might hear about things like AI hallucination, things like that. This is where it starts wandering off and starts pulling out questions. So there's strict guidelines on that system prompt to say, hey, do not go outside of that knowledge base. So, if you don't put limitations on the AI, it's going to try to, answer questions, surf the web, and try to pull an answer. But we're really restricting it to whatever's provided by that knowledge base. Mark has a couple questions here. He asked, as an example, this is a follow-up question for one of the Q&A stuff that he proposed here. But he says, as an example, let's say I send out a farming postcard. Can there be a QR code with info about me and what I do to sell a home with a link to my listing presentation online? So there is no way to, in conversation, to maybe I could share a link. But I think it could do it in conversation, but I'm not sure what the experience will be if someone has to write down that link. Here's the thing, whenever we talk about setting up these AI assistants, we basically want to make sure that there's always an agent bio on there. A lot of agents, they write a generic bio sometimes. They include everything from different types of designations, sometimes rewards, talk about areas they really specialize in. So I highly advise you guys to put that on there. These guys, if you guys have agent brochure, maybe it's a PDF, upload that PDF. The AI is going to basically use that as just content, to kind of talk around this stuff too. We have someone else that asked about, hey, if they upload a 12-month CSV file format, just told to answer any market data questions a client may ask. Yeah, sometimes if you upload a CSV file, you might say something like, hey, can you tell me about the last 3 recent sales around this area? If there's a column with that date on there, it'll kind of do that. If you ask a question and you have a CSV file up there and you say, hey, what's the average sales price around this area? Well, usually I kind of put a field in there to add the sum on there just to make sure it's easier for the AI instead of having to query up something. So if I put like a CSV file up there, I want the experience to be really good. That way it doesn't take like a long latency time for that response. So that way, sometimes if you ask the question, say average days on the market, it might take a few seconds to basically respond because it's running a query, right? So my thing is always, hey, add the sum up. If you have data on there, days on the market, average sales price, just put it on there, and it'll be a lot easier experience. And that's it. Going to pricing.
Okay. Ready for pricing? All right. So you're probably thinking, if I were to hire a full-time assistant, what would that cost? Well, our pricing, actually, I'm very excited about our pricing. I think it's very reasonable for what you get. Let's break it down. We have different categories, and I'm just showing the monthly. If you wanted to purchase any of these yearly, you'd get a little bit of a discount on the 12-month version of these. This is a screenshot, so I can't toggle over, but it would have the pricing on there. What the different models are is the number of assistants you get and the amount of talk time you get. But before I go through all of those, the important thing to note is you get a 2-week free trial for any of these. So if you've watched today's presentation and you thought, gosh, that's kind of cool, like I could see where that could maybe work in my business. I want to play with it. I'd like to understand it a little bit more. I'd like to get my toes wet, if that's the expression, dive in. You don't have to pay for 2 weeks. And so what we would encourage you to do as a takeaway from today's call is to go ahead and sign up. And if you want to, start with the activate level, which gives you just one assistant, you can have 2 weeks to go set up your knowledge base, get those QR codes ready. Take them to your friends, take them to your sales manager, take them to your title person, take them to whoever you interact with business wise or client wise. Say, hey, I'm thinking about adding this tool. Can you scan this and have an interaction with me? And I'd love to get your feedback. Play with it for 2 weeks, see what you think. Our belief is once you have that first response and interaction, you're going to be like, okay, this is amazing. I need this. So that's our hope is you'll get in, you'll dive in, you'll experience it with your colleagues, get some feedback, and then you'll understand how it's really going to help your business. So again, the different models are the Activate model. That's one assistant, up to 30 minutes of talk time a month. And the talk time, as you saw in the conversation history, was the amount of time that each conversation occurs. We are seeing conversations really average like a minute or two. I think mine was a little bit longer because I kept asking it questions. People are asking 1 or 2 or 3 questions and then they're jumping off. So for the most part, we are seeing this 30-minute month. Actually, I don't think we've seen anybody exceed it yet. Again, this is a
Yeah.
newer. Has
Well,
someone?
we had one with, there's a couple, right? So like, what about we'll tell that quick story about like Elizabeth Avery, for example, right? And this was interesting. Her conversation, a lot of you guys, I think, probably thinking, hey, millennials are scanning this QR code. This conversation was about 3.5 minutes. Reached out to the agent, and the agent called me back and shared the story with me. She mentioned that she just came off of a meeting, jumped in her car, got this notification from the AI, so she was kind of curious. Listened to the AI conversation 4 times, right? And here's the amazing thing about it. The AI navigated the conversation, found out that prospective seller was looking to sell a house sometime in July that's currently a rental. And she followed up with this person, 2 hours later and got the listing. Her commission, I believe she mentioned something like 30, 35,000, whatever the case was, but all done with AI. And here's the thing, she didn't have to start from square one. She didn't have to explain about her services, didn't have to do a deep dive into where they're at with their situation, right? Followed up with a meaningful conversation and locked in that listing all in the same day, all done by AI, most of it, right? So that's what it is. I think a lot of people already brought up a good question here. And, she mentioned that, hey, well, does this break up the face-to-face stuff? Well, it does, but what happens is it creates a better experience. So that way you could get more meaningful data to then follow up. And here's the thing, a lot of people aren't going to be, instantly attracted to call an agent right off the bat. Like everyone has their own situation, and sometimes someone's going through a divorce, sometimes someone's going through a death, some of this stuff is event driven. So I don't want to bring up those time personal stuff, but I might talk about it through AI, because it's less intrusive, because the minute I call an agent, I already know that I'm almost committing to something. So that's the beauty of some of the stuff here, and then also being able to do this at times when you guys aren't working. you know, Middle of the night on a weekend. You guys pick up those phone calls, and it's kind of like that. So yeah, you'll see some conversations that go a little bit, sometimes 3.5 minutes, but yeah, majority of those people, it's going to be probably a minute and a half, whatever the case is, a conversation.
Yeah, and I think I love that story of Elizabeth Avery getting that listing. What I was saying is the 30 minutes a month, we're not really seeing people exceed that um, on that activate level. But if you get close to exceeding your time limit, we do notify you, and you do have the ability to purchase additional hours. So it's not like you're going to cut someone off, while they're talking. The amplify and accelerate, those just give you more assistance. We talked earlier about why you might want to have more than one assistant, and that would be if you have different marketing goals in using the AI assistant. What conversations are you wanting to have out there? So the amplify is up to 5 assistants, and how many hours? 60 minutes a month, and the accelerate is up to 15 with 180 minutes a month.
Couple questions here from Joe. Can I do multiple properties on cards per month for $30?
Yeah, so you could, but then the greeting would not be, what would you like to know about this listing? It would be something like, which of my listings would you like to know about? And then you could either list them, which makes for kind of a long intro, or you ask them, which listing, and then they have to provide the address. One thing to note, though, is depending on the number of listings you have and the knowledge base, it can create a delay, or what we call latency, in response. So we just would want to make sure that you're not overloading the system with knowledge. So if you have, 2 or 3 listings, that might be okay. If you're carrying 10 to 15 listings, it may be too much, and then it would slow down the responses. So we can play with it and help you optimize.
Okay. Ken has a question here. I'm a little bit confused about the 5 agents versus one agent, what that provides. Um,
So the assistants, that's the number of, so an assistant is going to have a voice, have a purpose, it's going to have a knowledge base. And so if you wanted to have an assistant that strictly talked about one listing, you could have one that talks about a listing, and then maybe you have one that talks about a market update. So if someone scanned it, the message on the card might say, scan this to find out about recent home sales in your area. That's going to be a different greeting than the one that's talking about promoting a listing. Those would be 2 different assistants. So they would have a different knowledge base, a different voice, and a different greeting when the conversation initiates.
yeah, it's really with the follow-up question. So 5 listings equals 5 agents, or one agent for all my listings, then 4 other marketing ideas. Yeah, so yeah, you could this thing is like a mix and match, right? It's up to what your strategy is, right? So you could put 10 listings on one AI if you want. It's up to you. So generally, best practice, I kind of think of this as what Sierra mentioned. Think of it as like your actual assistant. You're not trying to overwhelm them with 20 listings. I mean, they're going to only work one listing, right? Other questions here for us real quick here. Is there a abuse of people purposely trying to eat up minutes? Is there a process to regain those minutes?
Yeah, we have some guardrails in place. This has come up before. So, number one, they can't exceed, there's a conversation length of time that they can't exceed. And also, what was the other guardrail? That they can't. What was the other
Yeah,
one?
it'll automatically hang up on them, right? I believe after a certain amount of seconds or
Oh,
something
if
like
there's
that.
connectivity. Yeah, then it
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Also, you got a question here. If I don't have a listing at this point, is it still, can we still use the AI assistant?
Yeah, there's a couple instances. You're still going to provide it with a knowledge base, but as we were showing in the examples, one that everybody wants to know is what homes are selling for in their neighborhood. Like that's just a neighborly inquiry, and of course, the relative question that they're looking for is what is my home value? But they can have that conversation with you in person. But what you could provide on the AI knowledge base is recent sales. And so, like we saw with those, if I can go back here, I go back a little bit with these market update pieces. There we go. You could talk about what is happening as far as recent home sales. You're not necessarily representing that you sold these homes. These are just neighborhood activity sales. So that's one that you could talk about. Another is talking about as she was mentioning a minute ago, talking about, if you're doing general farming, what the difference is in what you offer versus, another agent that may be farming that area. Maybe it's your expertise, maybe it's your connections in the community. Maybe it's your that you live locally, whatever it is, it could be a little bit about you. It could be like a bio sheet. So that would be another one. So a couple of different ideas for you that aren't necessarily talking about a listing, but more talking about your services or what's happening in the market.
Yeah. There's another question here. About no listings, can they direct it to our brokerage listing then? Yeah, you could do that if you want. I think a lot of you guys I think are thinking like, hey, I have one AI assistant that does 10 properties, whatever the case is. You have to really think about just back upstream why someone scanned that QR code, right? So if you're promoting a listing, this is one thing that we've been looking at too, is that we really don't want it to talk about any other listings and maybe another agent's listing, whatever the case is. We want to make sure that AI is promoting your services and your listing. So imagine it in a conversation, someone says, hey, is there any other listings around here? Well, the AI will say something like, yeah, there's plenty of listings around here. Would you like to know more? Let me connect you with, the agent. Can I get your information? Right. So because the AI starts wandering and they'll say something like, oh yeah, there's additional listings. You go check out this listing. Like we really don't want that. Like literally, it is supposed to promote you guys, right? So I know that a lot of you guys are asking about questions like, hey, should I promote multiple listings? You have to really think about the conversation, why someone scanned a QR code back upstream to the strategy of that postcard, right? So if it's promoting one listing, why not have it focused on that conversation, right? So and also can there be a home valuation AI to give clients a back to the estimate for the home value? Currently, right now, at some point, we're integrating that data in there. So you guys are using the Corefact QR code today. You guys know that we have that home valuation. Currently, right now, if you ask for the home valuation in the conversation with AI, it'll tell that user, it'll say something like, "Hey, for free, no obligation market analysis of your property." Please provide your information or something like that. So then it'll collect that information and you guys will follow up with it. So, but yeah, at some point, I think we'll have that variable field in there where based on their address, it should be able to pull that estimate for you.
If you
Um,
to do it now and you know the average price per square foot in the neighborhood, you could program that in the knowledge base. I mean, this is just going to take a little bit more setup, but then you would have to ask the consumer for their square footage, and then you could say, well, based on average price per square foot, it could respond that way. But that's about what we could do at this point with this.
yeah. Last question here. Kim asked, can AI help call to my list of my customers?
Not at this time. It's not doing any outbound calling. This is just inbound inquiries and interactions.
Yeah.
I know we are looking to do a handoff phone call at some point to the agent, but that would still not be outbound. That would be, just a transfer to the actual to you, to the agent. These are
All
great.
right.
I love all the very thoughtful, intelligent questions. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. One last one here before we jump here. Can we create a local area expert? Ideally, it could look up local events coming up. Yeah. Again, I would probably load up a knowledge base. It can't query up, things like immediate search. The minute that you do that, it just starts hallucinating. So that's where we have to have the guardrails. So if you have community events, I'd probably run it through like a chat or something like that, find out what the latest community events are, put that as a knowledge base, and then update it. Again, some of this is, security, I wouldn't say security related issues, but just want to make sure we're giving the best experience on the conversation. So if you have those community events, put it in a knowledge base and let it access just those events. So,
Yeah, and just another comment. We built this for supporting the real estate industry because that's what Corefact is founded on, and that's what we know. But it is industry agnostic. We did put in these guardrails, for fair housing. That being said, this could be used really for anything. So if you have any adjacent businesses or you know someone that is in a business, we are just giving you ideas for how we think use cases could be applied. But once we started doing test uses with our pilot program, we saw people starting to use this in ways we hadn't even imagined.
yeah.
So kind of the sky's the limit. If you have the concept of a knowledge base and then some kind of interaction tool to launch that knowledge base and conversation, you could talk about really any industry or anything obviously within those legal confines of what's appropriate and bound legally. But this could
Mhm.
work for, a shelf talker for a product in a grocery store. I mean, sky's the limit on this.
Yeah. And also it just, close off with, analysis paralysis. Don't spend so much time dumping in a knowledge base. You're gonna be stuck doing that. You just, the idea is just basically have information about you, have information maybe about the property, maybe about your services, and keep it simple. Like I said, the conversations, most of these are homeowner questions. They're not going to ask agent questions. And really, most of the knowledge base you upload, 80% of it's probably not going to be used just because we know the duration of a lot of these calls, don't go beyond, let's just say 5 minutes, right? So in a 5 minute conversation, how much data actually they are actually covering. So the idea, like I said, is just to, navigate the conversation, let the AI do its thing, and then you follow up with a more meaningful follow up. So if you guys are thinking about, just overwhelming the AI, just yeah, I will probably pull back a little bit on that, just because, like I said, I've seen a lot of agents really start spending a lot of time developing and that knowledge based, and it's not used as much. What I think you guys could do is think about just the downstream conversation, creating a really good experience with anticipating what they would do. So one of my tips when you guys are doing this and you guys are promoting like a market update, run it through chat. Ask me, anticipate the top 10 questions if I'm promoting this, right? And whatever your subject matter is, chat will like anticipate those questions and then basically throw it in, get that thrown into the knowledge base. Okay.
I
So
love that. Great idea, too. We're over time.
yeah.
Thanks for those of you who have stayed to the end. One thing I didn't show, but I want to just mention is Chio and his team has created a whole bunch of AI designs that you'll see now on the Corefact site. So those are unlocked when you're a member as well. So I didn't even have a chance to get into those, but they're gorgeous for all kinds of property promotion, and you'll be able to see those as well. So, Chio, are there any other questions?
Uh,
We
no, I think that's it. I think we kind of answered everything. So
Awesome. I appreciate all the questions and
yeah,
interaction. Thanks so
definitely. Thank you guys. Bye.